All right, let's talk vocabulary. You guys have been working with things like x squared plus x plus 6, let's just say. This is called a trinomial because it has 1, 2, 3 terms, so it's called a trinomial. When we double bubble into x plus 2 and x plus 3, each of these is called a binomial because it has 2 terms. And so if you have something like a 3 or you have an x, this is called a monomial because there's only one term. And so what we need to look at is when you double bubble, sometimes you're able to factor out a monomial. So let's look at an example. If I had 5x squared minus 20, okay, this isn't one of those nice ones where it factors and double bubbles into the same thing, only one's plus and one's minus. And mainly I can tell that because both the 5 and the 20 are not perfect squares. And so one of the things you always want to check, because it'll always make math easier for you, is can you take something out? You'll notice both of these have a 5 in them. I can divide by 5 here and I can divide by 5 here. If you can divide by something, then you can factor it out. And so by factoring it out, it's like I'm saying I'm going to take it out, and when you take it out, it's like you're dividing by it. So then when you put it out here, you're going to be multiplying by it because you still want it to equal the same thing. It's just like saying if I had 20 and I take out a 4, then I'm going to be multiplying it times 5 when it's left over. So it's still, 4 times 5 is still 20, but I factored out a 4. I took out a 4. So I'm doing that down here. I'm taking out a 5. That means I'm going to take 5x squared and divide by 5, and that leaves me with just x squared, minus 20 divided by 5 is 4. And you see, if I was to take, and if I was to multiply that back again, if I was to take 5 times x squared, I would get 5x squared. And if I was to take 5 times 4, I'd get 20. So it still equals the same thing. But here's the cool part. Now it allows me to double bubble that. So I could box that out. I've got x squared minus 4, x and x. It'll be a 2 and 2. So I've got 2x and 2x, but I need one of them to cancel out, so I've got x minus 2. So I still have the 5. That's still going to be there. But then I'm going to take that, I'm going to factor it into x plus 2 and x minus 2. And so now I have my full factorization. Let's look at another example. Here, let's see here, we have 6p squared plus 15p plus 9. These are pretty big numbers. Now if you look at this, you'll notice that I have in each and every one of them a 3 that I could take out. So I take out a 3, which leaves me with, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2p squared, plus 5p plus 3. Now it's not all that great, but it still allows me, I can double bubble that. So let's see here, I've got 2p squared, and I've got a 3 here. So I've got to have a 2p and a p. And it's going to be 3 and 1 for sure. My middle term needs to be a 5. So I don't want to take the 2 times 3, I want 2 times 1, so that'll be a 2p. And then I'll put the 3 up here, so that'll be 3p, so that 3p and 2p make 5p. So again, I still have the 3. And then I have 2p plus 3 in one bubble, and p plus 1 in the other bubble. Alright, and I want to do another example here, where sometimes you have where you can take out a letter also, or a variable also. So if you look here, if I'm looking at just the numbers, I've got a 2 and an 8, I can take out a 2. Now if you notice, both of them still have a u there, so I can take out a u also. And if I do that, remember it's like dividing, so it's like I take and I'm dividing by 2u for both of these. And so if I do that, the 2's cancel, and then I'm left with only one u left. And then 8 and 2 make 4, and the u's cancel completely, so I got u plus 4. Now if you notice, this is a binomial. I don't have a squared, so I've actually factored it completely. There's nothing else I can do with that. And one last thing I want to point out. If I have a problem like this, 4x squared plus 4x minus 4, you'll notice it's kind of obvious. I can take out a 4 for all of them. Now remember, what I'm doing is I'm dividing by 4. So when I divide by 4 here, I get just x squared, plus divide by 4 in the next one, I get just x. Now in the last one, a lot of people want to say, well, there's nothing there, so I'm done. However, remember we're dividing by 4, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. Now, you might be tempted to go ahead and double bubble this, but I want to point out that this actually cannot be double bubbled, and so at this point you would be done. There's nothing left that you can do, and we'll talk another time about what you can do later since you can't double bubble that. Alrighty, that would be it for today.